More than 120 retired generals and admirals signed open letter questioning Biden's mental health and backing election fraud claims. I mentioned this, and the first thing that Jack said, what did you say?
Are we back to trusting, retired officials of all kinds, experts? I mean, didn't we just spend the last 4 years reading letters from all kinds of lists of people saying, 100 of these guys said that Donald Trump is insane in the membrane.
100 of these guys.
100 of these guys.
100 of those guys.
And then 100 of those guys. And now we got 120 of these M&F-ing guys. Mm-hmm. But I believe these guys.
That's right.
Because they think the way I think.
That's right. Yes.
Correct.
You know, I saw the 350 whatever former military officers saying Trump was unwell, and I was deeply offended, and it was clearly fake news.
Clearly.
And then I opened up this story from the Daily Mail, and these 100 retired generals clearly are the ones who are of sound mind.
They were the smart ones, obviously. Nothing but the best.
I got to be honest, though. I do think these guys are right. Like, Biden is not all there.
He's definitely not.
So, I mean, obviously we have our bias, I suppose. Yeah. But here's the story from the Daily Mail.
No.
They say... The letter echoes former President Trump's claims of widespread election fraud, which have not been borne out in the courts, and come on a day when Liz Cheney ripped Trump for his claim the election was stolen. Now, I'll mention this too. What may be the stupidest, most boring story I have ever seen in any news cycle? Liz Cheney getting stripped of some Republican committee woman position.
Who is she?
Dick Cheney's daughter.
I'm joking, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, but what was her position? What was her position?
I have no idea.
And who cares?
I have no care.
I'm sitting here reading the news, and it's like 2 weeks ago, there was reports out of Ohio, Nebraska, and Arkansas, food shortages. A bunch of different restaurants are like, we can't get food. Why? You see these stories about how people are walking off the job. Like, we don't want to work at Wendy's or whatever. That's happening at processing plants. It's happening at factories. It's happening at steel mills. It's happening everywhere. People get paid not to work. I'm seeing that story, and we'll get into more of that later. I'm seeing that story, and I'm like, wow, this is scary. And then I look on Twitter, and it's like, Liz Cheney. I'm like, who cares about Liz Cheney? Is there a 45-year-old dad, looking at his two daughters in the corner, thinking to himself like, oh man, if Liz Cheney doesn't get removed, I don't know what my future's going to be like, or my daughters. No, he's like, do I have food tomorrow? Is there gasoline? The Democrats just are demanding another pipeline be shut down in Michigan because they're worried it'll leak in the lake, which hasn't happened before apparently. And it's weird timing to shut down a pipeline when we have this other thing going on. Anyway, I digress.
That'd be 3 in 1 year for them.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Yeah. So let's see what these here generals.
Oh, and that was just the day after that. It was like basically the head, I think, of all of the Department of Energy. Maybe was our Department of Transportation. One of them, the lady was saying, "Well, pipelines are definitely the best way to shipping the gas."
Yep. Yeah. Talk about weird. I gotta say, when I saw that story about Democrats shutting down the pipeline in North Michigan, it goes into Ontario, I guess, for processing, refining, but still that helps supply the region. And I'm just like, are they trying to destroy everything? Are they actually like mustache twirling villains who want to burn the system down? Because I don't know what to say, man.
I've been having this feeling lately where I'm like, am I doing the Biden version of TDS? Where like everything that happens is definitely his fault and definitely part of a grand scheme and definitely evidence that they're trying to kill us all and destroy the country one step at a time right in front of our faces.
Yeah.
No.
BDS.
Yes, they are. No, they're not.
Well, no, you're not. You don't have Biden derangement.
I don't think
I don't have Biden derangement.
I don't think it's Biden though. I think that he's just a pawn that isn't cognizant enough to be aware of what's going on around him.
Well, so let's take a look at this letter real quick, and then I do think we'll lead off with that because that's a really good point. And I think the answer is no. We don't have Biden derangement syndrome. I think some people do. Yeah. Absolutely. I think there's people who are building careers off of like Biden is always bad. No, when Biden announced he was moving up the vaccine schedule, I give him credit. I was like, that's fantastic. Absolutely. Donald Trump was the one who did all the work for this. Donald Trump deserves credit for Operation Warp Speed. Joe Biden saying we're going to increase production, move the schedule. It's a good thing. It's not like he won a war or like ended a war or got everybody rich or anything. But, I try to give credit where credit is due.
No, he started wars that made us all poor.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's bad stuff.
Yeah, that's bad.
2019, best numbers of our lives, Jim Cramer, whether you trust the guy or not. But anyway, here's the letter. And I'll read just some of it so you get the general idea. Well, I'll read the highlights because reading the whole letter, they say, quote, election integrity demands ensuring there is one legal vote cast and counted per election. Legal votes are identified by state legislatures approved controls using government IDs, verified signatures, et cetera, they write. They have a huge list. Like, let me read this one. The mental and physical condition of the commander-in-chief cannot be ignored. He must be able to quickly make accurate national security decisions involving life and limb anywhere, day or night. Recent Democrat leadership inquiries about nuclear code procedures sends a dangerous national security signal to nuclear-armed adversaries, raising the question about who is in charge. We must always have an unquestionable chain of command. 100%. We talked about this on this show. When the Democrats were like, maybe Biden shouldn't be the only one with nuclear capabilities, like with the codes. And it's like, what are you telling the world when you say that? True and Anana Shabbat pressure? What do you think Kim Jong-un is thinking when he watched Joe Biden say that? Or when he sees Joe Biden go, I'm going to get in trouble if I answer questions, so I got to leave. What do you mean?
How would you feel if you walked into a tent in the middle of a war, you were at war with your comrades, and you walked into a tent and Joe Biden was there, the general? And you were like, what do we do? And he's like,
he'd be removed immediately.
Immediately. He has, as far as I know, zero military experience.
He would have gotten fragged a long time ago.
Well, hold on. Trump doesn't have any combat experience in the military.
Zero.
However, you walk in and Donald Trump is going, we are not going to allow them. No, excuse me. We are not letting them take that front. I want more soldiers there. No, it's quiet. Excuse me. And they're like, okay. Joe Biden's going, the one strategy, we gotta focus. Anyway.
Yeah, that's when the guys take him out.
That's when they say, okay, Grandpa, come on.
If you stumble and don't. I mean,
you mean they walk him out of the room?
Yeah, they remove him from his position.
Right.
Jesse Kelly had a great tweet about this today. He's also going to be live on Jack Murphy Live tomorrow, 12:15. Jesse Kelly.
Good get.
Thank you. The gets are getting better. I have some great guests coming up as well. And he's pointed out, he's like, look, if you're a bad guy out there in the world, this is your moment to make your move. This is your moment to make your move because there's nobody on watch. Nobody seems to care, and if they do care, they kind of want to help you. Like it's a moment of weakness.
You know what it feels like? It's like the Democrats right now are the equivalent of a bunch of like minors who put on trench coats, stood on top of each other's shoulders, and snuck into a frat party. And so now they know that the amount of time they have in this party is limited. So they're like, just grab as much as you can, and they're like drinking, and then like the frat leader guy, he's like some douche bro who's like, yo, what are these kids doing here? Get them out of here. Basically, my analogy is, they're in the system. There's no leadership. It's wild and out of control, and they're extracting and just like watching the whole thing fall down because they want to get as much as they can before they get the boot because they know they're getting the boot.
And then Biden's like, I don't know, man. Give me
Biden,
a six-pack.
No, hold on. Biden is the grandpa they use to sneak into the bar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alcohol.
Right.
These are my kids. They're all 50. And they're like, okay, grandpa. And then,
Did the generals put their names behind this?
Oh, yeah.
That's legit.
Any names that we know?
Let me see.
Yeah.
They got some photos. Major General Joe Arbuckle.
Oh, John
Arbuckle. That's a name,
Garfield.
huh? Wow. Do you want me to read all the names?
Yes. I'm just kidding.
I guess a few, maybe.
What does MG stand for? Major General?
Yeah, I think so.
Major General Joseph T. Anderson. What's RADM? Philip Anselmo. Joseph Arbuckle. John Eric.
Rear Admiral.
Yeah.
There you go.
Ooh, yeah.
John W. Bayless. James Best. There's so many titles in here. Like Charles Bishop. I'm not going to read everything. Edward Biggs. Richard Tex Brown. Ooh, they call him Tex the Third. Whoa, he's a third or something. That's cool.
Doesn't sound like a very diverse bunch.
Joe Owens. Jimmy Pappas. Hey, Jimmy Pappas, huh? Paul Mock. Leonard F. Picote.
Do we have any
John Poindexter.
Any
Oh.
BIPOCs in there?
I don't know.
I don't know. I see a John White. That's the opposite, though.
Oh, yeah.
That
No,
is.
other way.
How many women?
No women.
How many people of color? With no women, no people of color, I just
Gosh,
obviously
Jeff.
don't
Johns.
trust it.
A lot of Richards.
I don't trust it.
A lot of Johns.
Jerry.
Ken Hageman.
How many total? 180?
120.
So what are there? 660 generals all across the U.S. military completely, and we're
that the
looking
number?
at almost
These are
third.
retired.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they're all retired.
Yeah.
Okay, that's still a third of the total number of generalship of the United States.
But they're retired.
They are retired.
More people condemned Trump. It was like 357 or whatever retired officers who were like, Trump is bad.
That was the easy play.
So let me tell you something. You do not have Biden derangement syndrome for criticizing Biden when he's doing bad things. I mean, did you criticize Trump when Trump did bad things?
Yes, constantly.
Yeah, well, when Trump fired Tomahawk missiles into Syria,
Fired Darren Beatty, fired Michael Anton, all kinds of bad things.
didn't fire a bunch of people, brought on John Bolton.
Yeah.
Not Anton. That was.
It's very simple. Asking this question, we're very actively trying to make sure we're not just playing that game,
Yeah.
And that's actually a weakness in terms of the cultural conflict. The left doesn't do that. What happened? Remember when Joe Biden was like bombing Syria, and this woman, the woman from New York Times was like, waking up on Sunday and there's no tweets from Trump. Oh,
Yeah, no,
I'm so relaxed.
Wasn't that Jennifer Rubin?
I think
Oh,
so.
Rubin,
Yeah,
okay.
it was, yeah.
And I'm like, we just watching the news, seeing like, kids blow up and stuff. But go to sleep. Right. You've been sleeping the whole time anyway, so don't bother waking up. You'll only make a mess of it again if you
Well,
speak.
look, rigorous investigation is not the hallmark of the left. I recently tweeted out some information from education on the left where the slide said that if you look at data and the only conclusion that you come up with is that if you don't come up with the idea that the system is broken, that for whatever reason that kids have different outcomes, the data is wrong, the system's broken, or you're a bigot. That's it.
Huh.
It's either the system's
sounds
broken
about right.
or you're
Yeah,
a bigot.
I think that's the case.
Yeah, that's how you use data. That's what research is all about. Yeah. So to be critical of Joe Biden the way that we were of Donald Trump, I think is not something that we're going to see a lot of on the left.
Someone tweeted, they were like, it's been 4 months, and already we're dealing with all of these crises. And then some lefty responded with, how is this in any way the result of Biden policies? And I was like, imagine living in that world where you don't know what Biden's been doing. And for those that are listening who are like, I bet Tim's not even going to give an example. Welcome to Timcast, all my friends. Joe Biden rescinded the executive orders from Donald Trump and issued 50 or so executive orders on his own. Some of those executive orders were the Remain in Mexico policies, which resulted in a pull factor, and now we have more migrant children in detention. Another thing that happened was that Joe Biden reopened the Homestead facility and put more kids in cages. They don't seem to care about it. AOC, who once said they were concentration camps, is now saying they're migrant, what did she call them, facilities with controversial records. Yes. It's a big step up from concentration camps.
They're two-star hotels.
That's right. 2 stars. Joe Biden is also proposing that we extend the unemployment benefits of $300 a week for another large amount of time or undetermined amount of time. And the Chamber of Commerce said this is resulting in people walking off the job, and we need to stop it. 11 Republican governors have now said they're not going to accept this money because it's destroying the economy. Joe Biden is responsible for these things. It is Joe Biden's policies. He restored funding to political factions in Gaza, and now all of a sudden conflict is breaking out. I am not going to sit here and say, look at Joe Biden. He's making moves on the economy with mass spending. The Democrats and Republicans are responsible for that last year. Joe Biden is now exacerbating it. Things are getting worse. Joe Biden is telling people when it comes to immigration, the words of the president matter, but it's also his policies. These things are having an impact. Joe Biden goes in and starts talking about Israel and having to be responsible and having to have accountability. And then all of a sudden now this whole thing is bubbling up. I understand I can't blame the president for Israel and Palestine. That's a huge conflict that goes back a decent amount of time. But you look in Manhattan when people are beating each other in the streets. You look at the actions of the U.S. attorneys who have been cutting loose the far-left extremists, dropping felony charges in the Pacific Northwest, and the violence is getting worse. Even finally, the local news is talking about it. So there are just a few examples of what Joe Biden has done, which is causing very serious consequences. And I'll tell you this.
Tell me.
When he says we are going to continue the unemployment benefits, $16 an hour, and then you see all of this crazy stuff happening with the exodus from the workforce and the left, these young 20-something DSA people, Democratic Socialists, don't understand math. They're like, yay, give us benefits. We shouldn't have to work at all. And it's like, okay, well, if you don't make stuff, you don't get stuff. So if no one's making stuff, then you got no stuff to make or to buy, to do anything with. That's just some of it.
Thank you for those examples, Tim. I appreciate that.
It's fire.
You always have citations.
You know who
Well,
else?
it's because I'm not just making things up like, I don't like Joe Biden.
According to Ballotpedia, he signed 43 executive orders, 16 presidential memoranda, 69 proclamations, and 13 notices.
On day one?
He made
Since he's been in office.
dramatic.
As of May 10th.
He took dramatic actions, unprecedented levels of executive orders and memorandums, and now all of these things happening at the same time. Surely it was a coincidence. Trump was just, putting duct tape over the holes, and then as soon as he left, the duct tape popped off. That's what happened, right? It's all Trump's fault?
No, it's a busted machine. He's
Or
a
Joe
cog.
Biden got in and said, change, and pop.
The border.
It's always an interesting thing to see, like when Trump came into office, the economy was doing okay, and they're like, can't be Trump's fault. Can't be Trump. Trump didn't do it. How long into the presidency has it become theirs? But in this, the economy does take some time. The inflation was probably baked in starting last year, and it's getting worse now with these new packages. But the decisions that he made around the executive orders and foreign policy changes and immigration changes and things like that, those are huge, impactful, right now, policy changes. Stephen Miller, for all the things you want to criticize that guy for, he crafted an immigration policy that slowed the flow of refugees or of illegal immigrants. It slowed the massing of immigrants at the border. It slowed the number of kids in the cages and the detention centers and the 2-star hotels, depending on who's talking. It slowed all of that stuff. They rescind all of it, and now it just blows up.
Joe Biden was, under his policies, allowing illegal immigrants to come in who were COVID positive, and then they were immediately released into Texas at a time when you could not travel, you could not go to restaurants. That was the biggest punch in the gut, the spit in the face to the American people. We gotta ban travel to India, so saith Joe Biden. Media says that's A-okay. That's not racist. Well, Joe Biden said it was xenophobic after Trump banned travel to China. We get it. Joe Biden and the media are hypocrites. They want political power. Now that they got into the party, they are extracting from the system and watching it burn before us. Did Kamala Harris go down to the border when she was tasked with dealing with the crisis? No, she laughed at the reporter who asked her. She openly I'm not going down there. As if to say, you are a stupid piece of garbage for thinking I would ever do anything to serve the American people.
I don't stay at 2-star hotels. Get the hell out of here. Come on.
Kamala Harris, heaven forbid she has to actually go and look at those pores. Ooh.
I think I have Kamala Harris derangement syndrome.
Kamala Harris responded to that reporter, "Ugh, the only poor people I'm interested in seeing are the people who attend to my pores at the spa." It's a Futurama joke.
I like how you've been using the word pores. I mean, I don't really like it, but I feel like 21st century that might become derogatory.
Yeah,
that's the point. I'm mocking those people for
There's no room for sarcasm here.
I know, right?
pores.
Yeah,
The
it's
rabble.
terrifying because it really is a class issue, and in the future, they may really look at the pores like it's a race of people.
I can't. When watching Kamala Harris laugh in the face of that reporter for asking if she would go to the border, Kamala Harris protested the Homestead facility. AOC protested this. The Biden administration reopened the facility where the children were being detained. Now, I understand that. I did not go after Biden for that. What I'm criticizing is the double standard. You need to have kids somewhere. When Trump was doing it, I was like, what are we going to do? Just leave the kids in the desert? You got to put them somewhere, and we can do better, I suppose. But how are you going to protest that? Then be part of the administration that reopens it. And when someone says, will you go to the border? You laugh in their face.
Now, not to defend that psycho, but it's clear that her laughter is a sign of her own cognitive dissonance, right? It's clearly when she's challenged, she's uncomfortable, she knows she's wrong, or she doesn't know the answer, or whatever it is. She just cackles because she knows she's caught. Of course.
The question was, will you go down to the border? She wasn't caught in anything. She just started laughing.
She hasn't been. She's not prioritizing it.
This was right when Biden was like, I'm tasking Kamala Harris with dealing with this. She was boarding a plane. They were like, will you be heading down to the border? And she laughed and said, not today. It's like she's the Wicked Witch of the West. You think I would actually care for these children? Give me your political power. That's what she does.
She just needs a tiny bit of makeup.
Can we get a meme of like her?
right?
We need her to be like to merge her face with the Emperor. You know.
The Mace Windu scene. It's like
Oh my gosh, I'm sure it's out there.
and it like slowly turns into Kamala and then back into the Emperor, like a deep fake.
That's what she wants. And Joe Biden is just sitting there like, somebody tweeted my favorite quote from Joe Biden, my favorite presidential quote from Joe Biden. And he's like, I don't remember the exact quote, but he says something like, the one way to get ahead and with the dream and to fight with, to go anyway.
That was about as exhilarating then as it was now.
Anyway, like what were you
Terrifying.
going to say? Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.